When the organizers of this conference asked me to come here and speak about life in the deep future, I thought I would first look to the past. Martin Luther King Jr. said in one of my favorite quotes, "I have the audacity to believe that people everywhere can afford 3 meals a day for their bodies, education and culture for their minds, and dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirits." It's not so audacious a belief, really. 3 meals a day, education and culture, dignity, equality, and freedom. And yet, despite all of the technological and material progress we've made since he left us, we still live in a world where 4 billion people live on less than $3 a day. Can you imagine life on that kind of paycheck? Forget 3 meals. You'd be lucky to afford 1. And your life would last on average 25 years less than it would if you lived in a rich country like Belgium. Education and culture would be merely an aspiration, not a reality. And at this income level, you would prioritize survival over developing your mind. And as for dignity, freedom, and equality, well, most likely you'd be stuck doing an informal job in something like basic agriculture or maybe manual labor. This is a photo I took last year in a mining town in the state of Jharkhand in northern India, where thousands of men make their living hauling coal from mines on the top of their heads, bicycling to town, and selling it for a profit of $2 a day. It's hard to believe that the same civilization that ended apartheid and slavery and that put a man on the moon forces more than half of humanity to depend on such methods for earning a living. Modernity and machines were supposed to bring an end to this, right? At one point, machines were so successful that we were afraid they'd come to dominate our lives, and we'd merely be cogs in their wheels, like Charlie Chaplin here, victims of modern times. But then we learned that machines could increase productivity, in fact, and reduce physical toil. They ushered women into the workforce, and they led us to the 8-hour workday, the assembly line, office jobs, and computers. And in Silicon Valley, machines brought us the dazzling prospect of the singularity. The moment artificial intelligence will match human intelligence, the moment that we might be free of the burden of work forever. Some speculate this could happen as early as 2045. But in our excitement over the singularity, we must not forget our morality. Technological progress means nothing if it doesn't equate to human progress. The greatest challenge of the next 50 years, I believe, will be to create dignified work for everyone, to satisfy Dr. King's audacious belief, not through handouts and charity, but through market forces. Technology will play a key role because the future of work lies in virtual stuff, not in physical stuff. Think about this for a minute. A decade ago, if you wanted to give me your favorite music, you'd have to get to a music store, purchase a physical CD, upload the songs to your computer, burn me a mix, and then walk to the post office and put that in the mail. Now, you make a playlist on Spotify, and you share it with me on Facebook. The entire supply chain for distributing media has become virtual. And the beauty of digital supply chains is that you don't need a lot of traditional infrastructure to create the jobs of the future. The challenge with the traditional assembly line, the creator of millions of jobs in the last century, is that you need a way to bring raw materials in and take finished product out. You need, for example, good roads. You need waterways. You need grid power. And you need friendly shipping and customs officials who won't hold up your orders. And most of this is just not possible in the kinds of places where poor people live, because they live in rural areas or in slums on the outskirts of major cities. But what does exist in those places, in great abundance, is this: human intelligence. Through the internet, we can now tap the world's greatest underutilized resource, which isn't gold or diamonds or oil, but it's the brain power of the bottom 4 billion people. And the cost of the technology required to connect these brains to global markets is going down dramatically. The Indian Education Ministry just launched a $35 Android tablet PC. A new credit card-sized computer called the Raspberry Pi is about to retail. It plugs into a TV monitor and a keyboard, and it costs only 25 bucks. The number of computers in the world has now reached over 1 billion, and what's remarkable is that they're all connected. We had one pathetic undersea cable in 1858 between the US and Europe, just one. Fast forward to 2011, cables have landed everywhere. The cost for an East African to get online will go down by 90% this year, thanks to 2 new fiber optic cables that landed on the coast. So all of this led me to an epiphany 4 years ago. I had spent almost a decade of my life working in Africa, first as an English teacher, and then as a translator and researcher, and above all, as a wishful thinker. I'd become so cynical about the anti-poverty movement. Everyone seemed to view poor people as fundamentally needy, as passive consumers of handouts or maybe multinational products, but never as producers. And then one day, I met a young man in Kenya who proved them all wrong and who changed my life in the process. Steve Muthee was my age. He was 25 at the time, and he ran an internet cafe in Nairobi and told me about his city's unemployment problem. The Kenyan elections in 2007 had resulted in mass riots in the streets. I thought people were rioting because they were angry about the electoral process. Steve laughed when I told him this. He said, "These people aren't angry, they're working." Apparently, the youth who filled the streets and the images on the news were paid $1 a day to riot. $1 a day. That's all it costs to rent a human brain on the other side of the world. Steve told me that Kenya had one of the highest literacy rates in Africa. 95% of people under 30 can read and write, but most of them can't find anything to do when they graduate from secondary school. I had just read Thomas Friedman's book, The World is Flat, and I thought, if outsourcing was generating billions of dollars for a few rich guys in India and China, why couldn't the same model generate a few dollars for billions of people in poor countries? Why couldn't we convert internet cafes like Steve's into digital factories in every village and slum, fueled by work from large corporations sitting on coffers full of cash? Everyone I told about my idea said it wasn't feasible. But of course, that made me want to pursue it harder. So I quit my job, gave up my nice apartment in New York, and I launched a social business called SamaSource from my friend's couch, as we do in Silicon Valley. Sama means equal in Sanskrit, and our mission is to give work rather than handouts. We are a different kind of technology company. We build tools to connect the world's poorest people to income via the internet, using a concept that we invented called micro-work. Micro-work refers to any small task that a person can do with a computer and an internet connection. So here's a simple example. A parking company came to us last year and said, "We can't train our software to determine whether there's a car in each of these parking spots or not. So SamaSource workers log into our website, look at images one by one, and mark the ones that have cars in them." We built a 5-step model to apply micro-work to every major company. Workers can digitize books for Google. They can transcribe receipts for Intuit during tax time. They can make sense of conflicting user data submitted by LinkedIn. Micro-work allows people in these small digital factories to complete big projects, and it has enormous growth potential. When I first met Steve, he had 4 people working for him. Now he has over 150 people, and we have a network of more than 20 Steves who are local entrepreneurs running these digital factories in 6 countries. This model works. We've paid out over $1.3 million to some of the poorest people the world had written off. People like Shaleen, a woman in our rural center in Haiti who supports 8 people with her new paycheck. People like Neha, a young girl from a conservative Muslim family in India who has never been allowed outside of her house to work before. People like Sam and Tony, 2 young men from the slums of Nairobi. Tony, we found out, is putting his younger sister through school with this new income. Right now, there is more than $300 billion of micro-work sitting in the budgets of large companies. It could go to traditional outsourcing firms, or it could go towards satisfying Dr. King's audacious belief. Give work, and every family can afford 3 meals a day for their bodies. Give work, and every child can enjoy education and culture for her mind. Give work, and one day in the deep future, people everywhere can enjoy dignity, equality, and freedom for their spirits. Thank you.